Nigeria is an extraordinary country. Nigeria, apart from being the most populous country in Africa, Nigeria has immense wealth, immense capacity in people. Nigeria has a history of tremendous strength from which you can draw for the future. And I say to Nigeria as I say everywhere else, certainly in relation to my country, we are all time. Only the future is ours to desecrate. The present is the past, and the past our fathers' mischiefs. So that you have a lot of resources, you have a lot of good leadership across the whole spectrum of from government to civil society and the like. You have natural resources, you have fish, you have agriculture, you have quality people. And I have a great confidence in the future of Nigeria, and you should as a young Nigerian.
My name is Erelungozi Abeni Adeleke, the wife of Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Jackson Nuruddin Adeleke. Hey people, I watch Goldmaker. You too, go watch Goldmaker.
The Goldmaker team had an exclusive interview with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent, Grenadines, the Caribbean, in person of Ralph Gonsalves, popularly addressed as Comrade Ralph, born in Colonari, St. Vincent, British Windward Islands, to his father, Albert Gonsalves, a farmer and a small businessman, now deceased, and his mother, Theresa Francis, a small businesswoman. Gonsalves attended Colonari Roman Catholic School and later the St. Vincent Grammar School. He then enrolled at the University of West Indies, where he completed a bachelor's degree in economics. He later returned there to earn his master's degree in government, which he completed in 1971. And in 1974, he completed a doctorate in government at the University of Manchester. Gonsalves was called to the bar at Gray's Inn in London in 1981. He also attended Makerere University in Uganda, adding to his address at the United Nations during the Africa Day event on the 25th of May 2019. He practices law before the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, a range of matters including the Caribbean, African, trade unionism, comparative political economy, and developmental issues generally. He was awarded with the following Grand Cross of the Order of the Liberator General San Martin in Argentina, also in Cuba as Order of Jose Marti, and many more. During his interaction session, he expressed his affection to Africa, especially Nigeria, where he pronounced that the country is blessed with a lot of mineral resources and well accommodating, full of intellectual people.
I was born in a rural village in St. Vincent, which is part of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is a country of 32 islands in the Eastern Caribbean, 9 of which I inhabited. Born in 1946, just after the war, the Second World War. Things were extremely difficult in those days. You didn't have pipe-borne water in homes, no electricity. You had primary education, but very limited secondary education facilities. We went to primary school barefooted. The river and the sea were very important, and the lands very important. My father was a farmer, a small farmer. And then I won a place in the major secondary school, the only boys' secondary school in the country, which took in 30 boys a year.
The only boy?
Only 30 boys, and you had to write a competitive exam. So those who got in had some ability, but also you need luck. And then from there I went on to University of West Indies, did a first degree bachelor's degree, then a master's there. Then I went to England, where I did a PhD in political economy at the University of Manchester. And part of the time, when I was at Manchester, I went to Makerere University in Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. In fact, I'm told I'm the only head of government outside of Africa who ever attended an African university. And I also did law in London, so I was called to the Bar of England and Wales. When I went back to the Caribbean, I was a lecturer at the University of the West Indies, both in Jamaica and Barbados, and a visiting professor at the City University of New York. And then I went back home. I've always been involved in political activity. From the time I was a student, I was a political activist. In fact, my activism, active, real serious politics, dated from 1968, so it's 55 years now. And I got elected to Parliament in 1994, and then as Prime Minister in 2001, and I've been Prime Minister since. I'm the longest serving Prime Minister currently, I'm told, save and except the Prime Minister of Cambodia. I do a lot of work within the regional integration movement in CARICOM, Latin America and the Caribbean. I'm currently the President pro tempore of the Community of States of Latin America and the Caribbean. Built a lot of good links with Africa. In fact, I addressed the African Union 3 times. Once in Addis Ababa, once in Tripoli, and once in Kampala. And I've been in the forefront of many anti-colonial, nationalist, anti-imperialist struggles, while we seek to build a modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy, which is at once national, regional, and global. Well, I don't know what is passion or commitment to people. Passion is something which can so easily evaporate. Commitment is more fundamental to people. It's the way I grew up, the way I was socialized. My 4 parents went to St. Vincent in 1845 as indentured servants. My 4 parents were bonded. 2 years with a planter. After the abolition of slavery, the bulk of the population in my country are of African descent, mainly descendants from enslaved persons who were enslaved by the British. And we have some persons of Portuguese descent, some of Indian descent. They came also as indentured laborers, plus the indigenous people, and of course, historically a handful of Anglo-Saxons, those descendants of those who are planter merchants from the early colonial times. We are part of the Caribbean civilization. Metaphorically, we are the songs of the indigenous people, the Kalinago and the Garifuna. We are the rhythm of Africa, we are the melody of Europe, we are the chords of Asia, and we are the homegrown lyrics of the Caribbean. This process of creolization through the fever of history, assisted undoubtedly by biology, have put us together as one people from disparate lands. Well, there are 2 sets of challenges. There are external burdens over which you have very little control. Matters relating to climate change, the unequal nature of the global political economy, unfair trade arrangements, limited access to finance for development. But then internally we have legacies of underdevelopment from native genocide, from enslavement of African bodies, from colonialism, and of course limitations of resources, material resources. At the same time, of course, we have possibilities and strengths. Our people are our possibilities and strengths, and our solidarity is very critical in this process. when I came to office, you had only 4 out of every 10 12-year-olds were at secondary school. I very swiftly had all of them in secondary school, just built secondary schools and expanded existing ones, trained teachers, carried out an education revolution. You only had a handful of university graduates. We are on target now by 2030 to have at least, on an average, 1 college or university graduate per household. It made a big difference in the country. And we have transformed the nature of the economy from one based on monocrops in agriculture to a diversified one. Well, it's difficult to identify simply the single challenge in one. What has happened is this: the building of solidarity, between countries in the Caribbean and Latin America and Africa and elsewhere, in order to confront external burdens over which you have very little control by yourself. Issues of climate change, I said, financing for development issues, unequal trade arrangements, the monolith of the mass media of communications, which are our consciousness is determined by what goes on Facebook and the networks and so on and so forth. All these are challenges because we have to build a consciousness in solidarity with one another in order to mobilize our people for particular ends. And what are those? Essentially, to make a whole daughter and a whole son out of the compromises that history has made us, and so that we can build a society of peace, of security, of sustainable development for all, not just a handful of people. Well, you know, there are religious leaders and religious leaders. By your fruits you will know them, you know. As you know, some religious leaders are very holy, and some of them, you wonder if they're in the right trade, if they're in the right business. But our constitution begins with an affirmation that we, the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, affirm that our nation is founded on the belief in the supremacy of God and the freedom and dignity of man and woman. But you don't need a theocracy for values which are in part derived from religious values, be they Christianity, be they Islam, be they Buddhism, or whatever, Judaism, whatever the core of that religion. It's based on certain principles. Look, I'm sure you're familiar with the prophet Micah. The prophet Micah posed the question, what does the Lord require of you? And how did he answer? To do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. Those are propositions which are relevant to every religion, not just only to the Hebrew people in the Old Testament, but to persons of all religious persuasion. To do justly, to love mercy, some translations say to love goodness, and to walk humbly with our God. You don't have to be a preacher man to be occupying a political office.
My name is Erelungozi Abeni Adeleke, the wife of Osun State Governor Senator Ademola Jackson Nuruddin Adeleke. Hey people, I watch Goldmaker. You too, go watch Goldmaker.
I would say that the most important public policy that I have implemented among all the very successful ones is the education revolution, to make sure that people with their God-given skills and talents can develop those skills and talents to the best of their ability. Education really has basic functions, such as the first one, to train critical minds to receive and transmit universal culture, including science and technology, with in our case, a Caribbean particularity. Secondly, to train persons for the production apparatuses of the economy, national, regional, global, to build a set of core values resident in our tried and tested values resident in our civilization, our Caribbean civilization. And of course, the old ancient purpose for education too. You have a healthy mind inside of a healthy body. If you carry out an education revolution along those four principles, make it manifest of all levels, you don't have to worry about a lot of other things, because people are going to help you do things. I mean, nothing is possible without people.
Exactly.
Nothing is doable without focused, quality, strategic leadership. Nothing is achievable without the mobilization of adequate resources. And nothing is sustainable without the creation of specially crafted institutions. So you have to have people, quality leadership, resources, institutions. What is possible, doable, achievable, and sustainable. Those are the elements of any good governance arrangements. Just deliver to the people and keep in touch with the people on an ongoing basis is very simple. Deliver for the people and be close to them. And even when they may not as yet agree with me, that I explain to them honestly what is taking place. You see, look, my brother,
Yes, sir.
a lot of people talk about leadership to inspire, and that is important. Inspiring people is important. But inspiring involves putting into people. What about the more difficult task of leadership? To draw out of people what is good in them, what is noble in them, what is of high quality in them, and often to draw out of them their goodness, their nobility, their high quality, which they do not as yet know that they possess. And if you can do those things on an ongoing basis, you'll win elections all the time. Well, the speech has several dimensions, but one of it is emancipating African technology, or technology in Africa. That is to say, to make it work for Africans. Because, my brother, the thing is that technology has to have a purpose. What is the purpose of the technology? What use it can be put to? Uplifting use. Because the technology, while it can be your servant, can turn out to be your master. So you have to ensure that that technology is used for the improvement of your life and living and the production processes, and not to be controlling you and limiting your own self and your own possibilities. And you know as much as I do know, and maybe even more, because you probably studied the issue in some detail.
Yes.
There are a lot of technological devices, including some which you use in your line of business.
Yes, it
If you're not careful, they control you,
is. Yes, it is.
rather than you don't think it out yourself as to what use they're being put to. I value every single one of the awards that I've received. I've received awards, I've received the highest national honors that countries diverse as the Republic of China, Cuba, Nicaragua, Argentina, Ecuador, Guyana, other places too. I have honorary degrees from different universities. But I've all valued them because it's not so much a validation of my work, but I am the instrument through which people honor the ordinary man and woman in the Caribbean and in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I don't take these honors or these awards as personal. I don't have that conceit. I represent people, and I can't, what I've achieved, I haven't, even though I've provided leadership, I couldn't achieve them by myself. I had to achieve them in communion with other people, in solidarity with other people, because you have to be a social individual rather than an atomized individual. If you're an atomized individual, you just do your own thing individually. What good can you do? What progress can you make by yourself? You have to work together with people. Well, we had put a referendum in 2009 not to have an executive president because I don't support an executive presidency in our context.
Okay.
But we wanted to get rid of the monarchy, which is clearly an anachronism. How can anybody tell me that in St. Vincent and Grenadines in the 21st century, somebody is in England, is the King of Britain and the King of St. Vincent and the Grenadines? It's a complete absurdity. And it's a holdover from colonialism. Of course, the King of England has no authority in St. Vincent and Grenadines. It's just something symbolic. You know, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a completely useless symbol. This is not a commentary on King Charles, any more than a commentary on his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who is a good lady, and King Charles is a good man. I don't have anything against them personally. And I used to talk well with Her Majesty, I speak well with King Charles. But the institutions, that institution of the monarchy is, as I say, it's an anachronism. It is a complete waste of time in relation to my country. What does it do? What does it, other than to try and have some symbolism to retard people's consciousness? I don't support it, and the British monarchs know that I don't support it. I have a free and democratic country. You criticize me. If I choose to respond, I respond. If I decide not to respond, listen. Don't you see very often a caravan is going, a vehicle is going, and dogs are barking. Metaphorically, I'm real in time, but I'm now talking about metaphoric dogs. The dogs can bark, but the vehicle continues to move. So those things don't worry me.
That's interesting. So,
Sometimes it annoys people in the media, and they would be so exercised about certain things. I said, my brother, tell me something. Does that put any food on your mama's table?
No.
Does it send your children to school? I said, don't involve me in triviality. Because you see, in today's world, a lot of people are not looking at the fabric, not looking at the garment. They look at the hem.
exactly.
They look at that which is trivial and not that which is core, not that which is central. I try to always look at that which is central.
Yes.
Oh, you can have fun about the things which are trivial and so on, but at the end of the day, focusing on those it doesn't really move the needle.
Yes,
And I want the needle to be moved for the better. Well, I'm a very people-oriented leader. I'm a people-oriented prime minister. And I go among the people, I have enjoyment with them, among them, I have time for my family. Of course, sometimes, you would wish if you have a little bit more time for your grandchildren than you actually have. But that's part of life and living. You you make the adjustments. You know.
So,
In my election campaigns, I sing and dance. I mean, I have a lot of fun. I love music. I love popular culture, and I spend a lot of time reading and writing. I do a lot of writing. Nigeria is an extraordinary country. Nigeria, apart from being the most populous country in Africa, Nigeria has immense wealth, immense capacity in people. Nigeria has a history of tremendous strength from which you can draw for the future. And I say to Nigeria, as I say everywhere else, certainly in relation to my country, we are all time. Only the future is ours to desecrate. The present is the past, and the past our fathers' mischiefs. So that you have a lot of resources, you have a lot of good leadership across the whole spectrum from government to civil society and the like. You have natural resources, you have fish, you have agriculture, you have quality people. And I have a great confidence in the future of Nigeria, and you should as a young Nigerian. I just have some of your Nigerian rice. I got some of the Nigerian students who in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They cook it and bring it for me, Yeah, man. And I like the way they do different dishes.
wow, interesting.
And some of them have some connections with our own cuisine. My advice to them is simply this, and bear this in mind always. As I say to my people, you are not better than anybody else, but nobody is better than you. And see the world through the prism of your own eyes, but work in solidarity with everybody else. Because unless you work in solidarity, you're not going to achieve all of your dreams, individually or socially.
This package was produced by Tosin Abiola. Thanks for watching.